benefits for a country, in terms of its economy, society, and our culture generally. Whereas here, at least, we have people, we have politicians, we have trade unions, we have different faith communities, and organisations like United Against Fascism and Voice Fighting Many Cultures that unite a broad range of opinion, which says what we are in favour of and how the multicultural society is actually simply, a reality in many parts of Britain, and it's something that you can either make that work by allowing people to be free to express their faith and culture how they choose, or you can clamp down on people's right to do that and therefore create problems in society. So I think we should all give ourselves a round of applause for what we do here in Britain, because there are so few victories for those on the left and centre-left. But in terms of campaigning against fascism, we have had two major victories. We have prevented we've halted the electoral rise of the BNP. They are massively in reverse at the moment. And the EDL, the streets mobilisation of the EDL, are also in retreat. 2 years ago, almost exactly, in Luton in 2011, the EDL mobilised 2,000 to 3,000 people on the streets. 2 years later, a week ago in Cambridge, there was barely 50 people. 50 is being generous. So, this is something, we can all be proud of, and it's a real achievement of our movement. But at the same time, we cannot be complacent, and that's why I'm so pleased that so many of us are here today, knowing that despite our victories and we have much cause for celebration, that we understand that we cannot be complacent, because as Brian rightly pointed out, the EDL are still organising, and it's no accident that they've chosen Manchester, because next year there will be Euro elections. And as we all know, Nick Griffin, leader of the BNP, gained a seat in the North West in 2009, and Andrew Bronze, who stood as a BNP candidate and won as a BNP candidate, has now left the BNP, but will restand and will definitely submit a nomination, and is seeking to form a new fascist organisation. And what the EDL knows, that whereas in London, where we successfully campaigned against their attempt to demonstrate in Tower Hamlets and also in Walthamstow, in both areas there was a united community response that they want to provoke and incite local Muslim organisations, but we all know we don't fall for their propaganda about how they were only opposed to Islamic extremism. And we have successfully exposed that they're a fascist organisation, because they also, as they attacked anti-cut demonstrations, they also attacked PCS picket lines last year. They've attacked trade union buildings, the Unite building in Liverpool. So we know they're a classic fascist organisation that operate in a classic fascist way in terms of the communities and the organisations it targets. And we exposed that. So we had Jewish and other faith communities supporting the Muslim community, the local trade union movement in these areas, united supporting Muslim communities, which led to local pressure in both Tower Hamlets and Walthamstow, where the political establishment said to the police, we can't have them here, they're not entering this borough. And that was a result of our movement against the EDL. And so the reason why the EDL are now targeting the northwest of Manchester is because they know that there is such resistance to and opposition to the EDL in London. It's difficult for them to, it's humiliating. Twice they haven't been allowed to demonstrate in the areas that they want to, and go into the heart of the lion's den, as they call it, the big concentration of Muslim communities. They can't do it. So they're targeting the northwest of Manchester because they know if next year a high vote is delivered for the BNP or any other fascist organisation in those regions, that would be a justification for their demonstrations once again, because they can go to the police and say, well look, people voted for this, people agree with this, they agree with this agenda, and we shouldn't forget that the EDL emerged as a product of the BNP's election to the European Parliament, because it was right at that moment that the EDL emerged onto the political agenda in Britain, because that way through to the European Parliament, emboldened fascists to mobilise on the streets in ways that we haven't seen since the 1970s National Front demonstrations. So they know the connection between a good vote for the BNP or other fascists in next year's Euro elections and street mobilisations. So it's important that we both unite against the EDL and we continue to mobilise against the EDL as we have done, and that we also mobilise the votes in next year's European elections. And we should remember, we won the argument to mobilise against the EDL. People used to say, oh, we were just troublemakers, it's too confrontational. But no, we have won and we asserted the right to mobilise against the EDL. It's a fascist organisation. After the Second World War, the whole world said never again, and we stand in that tradition. We are the majority of people oppose fascism. We have a right to make our voice heard, and as other people have said, we walk the streets often fear from attack, a racist attack or any other attack, and that's because people fought for that right. People before us campaigned against the British Union fascists in the 1930s, campaigned against the National Front in the 1970s, and campaigned against the BNP and other racist and fascist organisations. It was a right that was hard won, and so that's why we must continue to mobilise against fascism and also mobilise the votes against any electoral threat from fascist organisations. Thank you.